Trappist Rochefort 8.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I've got one here from the Trappist Rochefort Brewery in Belgium. An Abbey or Trappist brewery, a genuine one if you like, because it has got that mark on the side, and that is the sign of a genuine Trappist beer. Now, the Trappist Rochefort do some great beers, and I've done the 10 and I've done the 6, and I was quite surprised I hadn't done the 8 because I thought I had, but I hadn't, and now I have. Well, I am doing it at the moment because here it is, and I don't know what the fuck's going on with my mind at the moment, because there's beers that I thought I'd reviewed and I hadn't, and there's beers that I hadn't thought I'd reviewed and I have. I mean, I'm not knocking it, because it's great, because you get to discover a beer all over again, and that's brilliant. And I must say, Alzheimer's does run in the family, so maybe this is the onset, which is brilliant, because every day you're meeting new people, even if you never leave the house. Anyway, enough about that. Trappist Rochefort, been going since 1899 officially. There is such a sort of checkered history on this place. The abbey that this is associated with dates back to the 12th century. There has been brewing there since the 15th century. Everything was sort of disbanded and demolished in the 18th century, and in the 19th century, it all got re-established again, and this is where we are now. The Rochefort 8 is the youngest out of the beers that they do. Now, let me just explain the numbering system first, because you get 6, you get 8 and you get 10. This relates to which is obsolete now, but Belgian degrees of gravity, and it's a good indication of the ABV as well, although it doesn't correspond. So the Rochefort 8, obviously this is a 9.2% beer, so that doesn't correspond, and you shouldn't think of it in that terms. You should just think of it in the strength. So obviously the 10th, Rochefort 10 is going to be the strongest, and the Rochefort 6 is going to be the weakest. I say that in relative terms because they're all quite strong beers, because they're Abbey beers, obviously. The recipe for all these beers is the same. The only thing that differs is the amount of candy sugar they put in. I'll get onto candy sugar in a minute when I'm doing the beer facts and all that. And the amount of malt. And of course, the reason for that is you're raising the ABV on each one, so you're going to need more malt. And of course, it's bottle conditioned, or does a second fermentation in the bottle. And you add candy sugar, and that gives you a bit more ABV, and it gives you a lot more carbonation, because the yeast is put in after that. It feeds on that, and it produces everything that yeast produce. So there you go. This has been around since 1955. It wasn't one of their core beers, as I say, and it was only brewed for New Year's Eve, but it became really, really popular. And I think it was in 1960 or 59. I think it was 1960. They said, we need to do this full time, and they did, and it's been popular ever since. And it makes up the largest proportion of their output. So even though you've got the 10 and you've got the 6, the 8 is what keeps them going. And I have tried this before. It was a long, long time ago. It was in Belgium. Christ, how long would that have been? Oh God, it's got to be over 10 years now. And I was just going through the whole fridge. I didn't really know fuck all about Belgian beer, and I just thought, oh, this looks good. It had Trappists on it, and when you're in Belgium, you have to drink a Trappist beer. There's no law that says you have, but that's what you get in your head. And I did, and I got suitably fucking mashed. Anyway, enough about my daring exploits in Europe. Let's get this beer investigated. Right, as I said, it is 9.2%. It's a 330ml bottle. It's a genuine Trappist beer, and there ain't many. Believe me, I think in the world there is nine or 10 genuine ones. One in the US. There is now one in the United Kingdom, the Tint Meadow. Check that out. I've reviewed that. That is an amazing beer. Really good. What else we got about this? A quick word about the hops. They do use hops in this, believe it or not. You don't really get much of the hops in there, but you do get a little touch of them in certain Belgian beers. But in this one, they mostly use hop pellets. They don't use fresh hops, and that's sort of understandable. But the hop pellets that they use are Hallertau and Goldings, and they're Kent Goldings that they use. I'm pretty sure they are anyway. Kent Goldings seems to be very popular in Belgian beer, as does the Hallertau hops. They are two superb hops, and they seem to be very popular. One's German, one's British. There you go. And the water for this comes from the Tridane, I think that's how, or Tridane Spring, which is very calcium rich, and it's right near the Abbey. I think it's 42 metres above the Abbey, so it's obviously... Can you get high places in Belgium? It's flat as a witch's tit. Certainly Flanders is anyway, but I think the Ardennes is quite mountainous as it goes. But this is in I think, well, obviously not a flat part, because it's 42 metres above the Abbey, unless the Abbey is really, really low, or it's fucking underground. But anyway, that's where it comes from, and it's quite calcium rich, and it suits this beer perfectly, which is great. So let's stop gassing and let's get this beer investigated. Now, I did mention the candy sugar in this, and it's usually a big thing with the Rochefort beers. There's the cap, and it's the green cap. All the caps are colour coded. This is the green one, and it's got the 8 on it, so there's no mistaking what this beer is while you're viewing it from the top. You normally drink it out of one of their own goblets or chalices, but you know, I've only got this one, so it's going to be drunk out of this one. I should get another one, actually, another chalice, just to get a bit of variety. The dogs are killing each other, which is nice. Always nice to see the dogs killing each other. There it is. It's a lovely murky brown colour that you associate with Trappist beers and Monastery and Abbey ale. Oh, alcohol is what I'm getting from this. Alcohol, sweet caramel malt, and a lot of carbonation. Now, of course, this is bottle fermented, so it's going to have stuff at the bottom, yeast deposits at the bottom, and yeah, 2024. So, and it's now 2020, so you could have these on the shelf for ages. They say it's 4 years, but you could keep them quite easily, keep them for double that, and they'd still be good. A lot stronger though. Yeah, it's just spirit alcohol and sweet caramel malt. It smells absolutely gorgeous. Let's get it down the hatch. Bottoms up. Cool. Again, this is really strong. The alcohol, the spirit alcohol, is immediately apparent, and this is chilled, but it makes itself known. I can only imagine what that's like if that was at room temperature. I'm not sure how to... I know it's classed as an Abbey ale, but with that ABV, I'm not sure whether that would be classed as a triple or a quadruple. But whatever it is, that tastes absolutely gorgeous. I'm just going to have another dive in on that. There's tons of carbonation in this. Really pushes the flavours around. And there's that sweet caramel malt and the sweetness is being emphasised by the candy sugar that's been put in there. But there is a huge backbone of spirit alcohol, and even at this chilled temperature, you know about it. And I think that's a little warning to say you better take it easy with this, otherwise you are going to end up legless. Now we've got Arsenal later, and I think we're going to get fucking humped. Well, it's no difference, you know, West Ham are always getting fucking humped, but it makes it a little bit more bearable when you've had a few. And I think I'm going to have to stock up on some of this, because I think we're going to have a fucking shit season. But it may make it even funnier if I have a few of these inside me. Do you know what? I don't think I've ever watched West Ham sober. Certainly not live anyway. And I had a season ticket for years over there in the old ground, and I always got there early, always went to the pub. I couldn't watch them fuckers sober. It would just be a waste of a day, in my opinion, if I saw them sober, because we'd always fucking lose. But it's always fun when you're drunk. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get back to this beer. There's some nice dark fruits on this that come through, like date and raisin and dark berries as well, which is what you would expect in a triple or a quad. Now triples are usually blonde in colour, but you do get, for example, this, where is it, the Golden Drac. This was really nice. That's classed as a quadruple, that's 10.5, but that was dark. But you get triples, and I'm looking for a triple now, but I think that is classed as a triple, even though it's 10.5. I don't know how they get that. I normally class anything that's 10% as a quad, but this is not far off at 9.2. But I'll tell you something, this is really, really nice. You just cannot get away from that spirit alcohol in there, though. It just flavours the beer from start to finish. You get it in the mouth, and you get it on the finish as well. It adds a slightly bitter finish, which is offset by the sugar and the malt in there. But I wouldn't say it's balanced. The alcohol dominates this. Now, some people like that, and to be honest, it doesn't really bother me that much, that Belgian spirit alcohol. Now there's other beers I've tried, like the fucking Kestrel and Carlsberg Special Brew. You do get a slight spirit alcohol in that, but it's not pleasant. So it just goes to show it's the ingredients around it. Anyone can throw loads of alcohol in there, but when you've got the ingredients right around it, it just complements it. And that's what it's doing with this. Carbonation is still there, and if you're not a massive fan of that huge carbonation, because it can bloat you. If you have a couple, you can feel really bloated, but if you keep swirling it, that will create a head, and it will dissolve that carbon dioxide that's in here, because carbon dioxide will dissolve at lower temperatures, and this is chilled. So I can only imagine what this is like at room temperature. If you don't put it into a fridge, obviously the alcohol won't absorb any of the CO2. But yeah, that's nice. When you get that sort of mouthfeel, it's just on the cusp of being flat, but there is still just enough carbonation to pull the flavours and let them and release them in the mouth. That's really nice. That has got everything I would expect from a Belgian Abbey ale. It has got the dark fruit, the spirit alcohol, and the candy sugar and the dried fruit as well. And I really like it. And out of the 3, about the 6 and the 10, would I say this is the best? I did like them both, the other two, to be honest. But I don't know. I think this might edge it a little bit, but it was a long time ago since I tried the other two, so I may have to do a comparison. But effectively, it's the same beer. It's just got, varying degrees of malt and sugar. But yeah, all in all, very nice indeed. So what's the verdict on the Rochefort Trappist 8? Or the Trappist Rochefort 8, I should say. I got that round arseways, didn't I? Yeah, well, you can see from the glass that was full when I started this review. And it's going down very nicely indeed. But you have got to be wary. It's 9.2%, all right? So if you think you're going to be able to cane this, nah, this is one to be savoured. And you really have got to be careful, because it will catch up on you. I like it. It's very rich. The body on it is immense, and it's everything I would expect in an Abbey ale. And there goes the Hoover. That's a stepdaughter doing it. She's had orders from the missus. It's great. I locked her out the house today. She was cleaning the windows, had her music up blaring. Fucking locked her out the house. Told her to turn it down. She had it on her phone. She didn't all. She was not getting back in this fucking house without turning that music down. And I know they say if it's too loud, you're too old, but I fucking love loud rock music. I don't like that Hoover, but I love loud rock music. But the shit she plays, honestly, it's fucking shite. And the dog's going off now. It's like a fucking madhouse in this place. Anyway, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. I'm definitely going to recommend it. I'm going to make sure she's hoovering up, hasn't missed a bit. And I'm going to recommend this. And I'm going to tell you that beer is working class champagne.